1 Corinthians chapter 15. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I want to begin reading with verse 3, end up at verse 8. Verses 5 through 8 is the text. Verse 3 is the introduction to the text. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Once you have found it, say amen.
Amen.
I'm reading out of the New King James translation. I pass on to you what was most important and what had also been passed on to me. Christ died for our sins, just as the scripture said. He was buried and he was raised from the dead on the third day, just as the scriptures said. Here's the text. He was seen by Peter and then by the 12. After that, he was seen by more than 500 of his followers at one time, most of whom are still alive, though some have died. Then he was seen by James, and later by all the apostles. Last of all, as though I had been born at the wrong time, I also saw him. Thus is the reading of the word. We're going to talk about it in a few minutes. Jesus keeps hanging around. Jesus keeps hanging around. Resurrection Sunday has come and gone. And so the question is, where do we go from here? Is it back to business as usual? Or is it just another Sunday, just another day, just another life experience? Resurrection is over. Christ has been risen from the dead. But is it business as usual? Do we follow in the footsteps of the disciples who went back to their old occupation, catching fish?
All right, sir. All right.
Well, in 1 Corinthians, Paul provides us with some interesting information and insight as to what the risen Lord was doing on that first resurrection Sunday and thereafter. And not only thereafter, but prior to his ascension back to his Father and our God. When I read this passage of Scripture, I was struck by the number of appearances Jesus made on that first resurrection morning.
All right.
Not only the first resurrection morning, but thereafter and prior to his ascension. One could easily say, or could raise the question as to why Jesus hung around so long, given the fact that he had finished all that his Father had assigned for him to do. He had finished the work that he was born to do and born to die. If we look at his resume, he preached the good news of God's steadfast love for 3.5 years.
Yes, sir.
He lifted up those who were economically or even spiritually poor. He brought relief to those who were held in captive by the religious legalism of that day that could neither save nor satisfy them. He brought sight to those who were blind, and he restored vision to those who had lost their sight. He had given those who were oppressed some type of liberating assurance of their own self-worth.
All right.
He had finished the work that God had sent him to do. He had announced the kingdom of God was at hand. At the same time, he transformed the bleak and hopeless life and existence of those who lived to let them know that this was the acceptable year of the Lord. He healed the sick. He raised the dead. He cast out demons. And finally, he made the ultimate sacrifice by allowing humans to misuse him, humans to abuse him and to crucify him, so that he in turn could redeem them from their sins.
All right, doctor.
And then on the cross at Calvary, we know and learn that in his dying hour, he pronounced and declared that his work was finished. And so you would think, you would expect that after some initial cameo appearances, he would head right back to glory, to be with with his Father.
Well,
But that wasn't the case. When we look at the text, that's not so. One would expect that he would be anxious about his imminent return to glory. You would think that Jesus would be in a hurry to get back, to leave this evil and sinful world and get back to heaven and sit at the right hand of his Father. But the text says that's not so. The text says he decided to hang around.
all right.
According to the text, he took his time about his ascension. According to the text, he seemed to be in no hurry to leave this earth, this planet. And the Bible states in verse 5 of our text, he appeared to Cephas, which is Peter, then to the 12. Then he was seen by more than 500 believers at one time. Then James, his half-brother, and then the other apostles, and last of all, after all the others, he was seen by Paul as one born at the wrong time.
All right.
The text says that Jesus appeared to at least 6 groups of people. And the question that comes to my mind, why? Why did the risen Lord and Savior hang around the earth after being resurrected from the dead 40 days prior to going back? 40 days before he sends his Holy Spirit in Acts chapter 2 on the day of Pentecost. Why did he hang around for 40 days? The text provides the answer. He first appears to his good friend Peter, the one who confessed and recognized him as Christ, the Son of the living God. It was the same Peter who later pledged his eternal devotion to him, and who in the hour of his testing seemed like a broken stick rather than the stone that Jesus had named him to be. It was the same Peter who had disappointed him and denied him 3 times. I believe, according to this text, Jesus hung around long enough to restore a fallen saint. And I'm glad about it, my brothers and sisters. He hung around long enough to lift the spirits of a downcast friend and to forgive the denial of a trusted follower and to reclaim a precious soul that Satan had desired to sift as wheat. Satan had desired to break his faith and his spirit. He hung around long enough for Peter. And I'm glad about it. He hangs around. He always hangs around those who stumble like you and me. And I'm glad about it. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm glad when others criticize us for stumbling, when others criticize us for our weaknesses and our human frailties and failures to seem, and they seem, and our failures seem to mark us and to contradict our faith and our hope in Christ. When guilty conscience seems to beat us up and shames us, Jesus hangs around long enough to let us know that he still loves us. He loves us just the same. Before, when we claim to be faithful, even when we fall, he still loves us. But regardless of our broken promises, regardless of the many times we said we would do right and the broken resolution, he still claims us as his own. That's the good news this morning, my brothers. Just like Peter, just like the others, Jesus hangs around long enough to let us know that even though our sin may be red as scarlet, his blood has made the difference. His blood can clean sinners and make them white as snow. His blood has the power to forgive us no matter what type of sin we have done. He can still walk in the newness of his life. Because he lives. We can face our tomorrow. Jesus keeps hanging around. But then second, he hung around long enough to appear to the 12. He appeared to those whom he had called by name to follow him. Think about that. He told Peter and the others and the partners, drop your nets and follow me.
All right.
He went to a tax collector by the name of Matthew and told him to drop your tax collecting business and follow me. All 12 dropped what they were doing, left their families and friends, and they followed him and became his disciples. Think about that, my brothers and sisters. 12 men who met Jesus for the first time, heard John the Baptist preach about one coming whose shoes that he is not worthy to even lace, and Jesus comes out of nowhere and tell these men to follow me. Trust me. Be my disciples. Learn under me. No other human beings, before or after them, my brothers and sisters, ever had the privilege of knowing Jesus in such an intimate and personal way. Think about that. For 3.5 years, they had the privilege to see and to hear things that the prophets of old could only dream about, only could behold, and they had that privilege to be with Jesus. And even though they deserted him in this hour of need, even though they failed to be with him in this hour of temptation, the text says Jesus hung around long enough to come back to the 12 and let them know that even though you desert me, I will never desert you. I will never leave you. Because there's a special relationship. My brothers and sisters, whenever we go in the name of Jesus, according to his word, we will never ever walk alone. I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that even though you have given him your heart and your life, you are never alone. No matter how far you fall, you are never alone. No matter how much you mess up and confess your sins, you are never alone. And so Jesus hung around long enough to comfort the 12, to empower them and to preserve them. To whom much is given, the Bible says much is required. Not only did he hang around Peter, he appeared before Peter and the 12, but the text says he hung around long enough to appear before 500 believing Christians.
All right.
Think about that. A whole church, 500 disciples at one time. If he kept hanging around until he was seen by the church as a whole. I want you to hear this. He hung around long enough so that the church could see him. He just didn't appear to the leadership of the disciples or to those who had held special offices or positions or those who were endowed with special gifts. The text says he understood that it takes more than leadership to accomplish his will and his work here on earth. It requires more than leadership. It requires the whole church. And that's what we're doing this Wednesday. It's not just the leadership, it's the whole church involved in Project Homeless Connect. We need all hands on deck. That's just not the preacher or the deacons. But the whole church. It faith line that reaches the throne room of God's grace. You don't need a priest. You don't need a pope. You don't need a preacher to talk to God. All you need is faith and the word of God. And if you believe in your heart, open your mouth, open your heart to God, talk to him, and I declare he will talk back to you. Because we serve a prayer answering God. I know what I'm talking about. Therefore, the presence of the risen Lord is available not only to the so-called newcomer, but also to the church pilgrim. He's available to the poor as well as to those who might be the most prosperous. He's not only available to those who are healthy in mind and body, but he's also available to those who are disabled. That's the kind of Lord we serve, my brothers and sisters. His presence before the 500 believers reassures us, my friends, that whenever God's children are doing the work that he has assigned for them to do in terms of the kingdom of God, Jesus will hang around long enough to reclaim us. He will reclaim the backslider. He will reclaim and strengthen the weak. He will confirm the faith of those who have doubt and give them the reassurance that all things are possible through him. But then here's the fourth thing. He hangs around long enough to appear to his brother James. According to the gospel, Jesus' family didn't understand him. Think about that. He's Mary's firstborn. And she had other children. Even Mary, Mama, had some challenge in terms of understanding him. And his mama don't quite get it. What do you expect of his siblings? His family didn't understand him. Family and friends, and those closest to us, my brothers and sisters, can hurt us in a way that no one else can. Just keep living.
Keep on living.
You don't have to have 12 of y'all in your family. It can just be 2 or 3. My. Jesus was no exception. To some of his family friends, he was crazy. He was looked upon as strange as his cousin John the Baptist, who ate locusts and honey and wore camel clothes around his for a tie. To others, he was an embarrassment. And to others, he was just a mystery. No one understood him. And sometimes, my brothers and sisters, when God begins to move in your life in a special way, you understand who you are when God has his hand on you.
All right.
Make no apologies. And at the same time, we cannot afford to sacrifice our conviction or to sacrifice the joy of the Lord that he has put in our hearts because of the lack of understanding on others. Other folk have hang-ups and other folk might have a lack of vision. But we must be prepared to let nothing and no one, whether they approve of us or whether they disapprove of us, whom we love, my brothers and sisters, we have to do what the Lord has called us to do. And that's what we see with Jesus Christ. Perhaps with his brother James. Perhaps James was one of those who had rejected Jesus early in his ministry. And now, when Good Friday came, as time passed, perhaps the ministry of Jesus, James began to see a different side of his brother. Not just his half-brother, but one who is the Christ, the Son of the living God. I believe after Good Friday and resurrection, James begins to have a different perspective, a different light of who Jesus was. And perhaps he began to understand that the nature of the kingdom of his older brother him. Perhaps James marveled at the way his brother had prayed for the forgiveness of his enemies when he was dying on the cross. Maybe James had some regrets that he had not had in terms of his support or his lack of support of Jesus.
All right.
But the good news is, the text says, he hung around long enough to be seen by James. To see his younger brother and to let his younger brother write his past, it's done, it's water over the bridge, it's spilled milk that you can't put back in the bottle. But right now that you know who I am, it's never too late. And my brothers and sisters, maybe there's somebody here who's sitting in this pew this morning. You think it's over. You think your sin has the last say. You think your failure has the last word or the last chapter. But I'm here to tell you, Jesus is hanging around long enough to let you know that this is not the end of the book. Because it's never too late on the right side with the Lord. And so that Jesus, he keeps hanging around to let us know that it's never too late to get right with God. Even now, whatever your age may be, whatever your station in life may be, regardless of what you've done or regardless of what you failed to do, it's never too late. It's right now. Tomorrow may not come. Well, not only did Jesus hang around for Peter, and for the 12, and for 500, and for James, but the Bible says he hung around long enough for a young Pharisee by the name of Saul. Young Saul wasn't around when Jesus called Peter and the others to follow him. Well, we see no evidence of that. He wasn't around when Jesus appeared before the 500. He wasn't around when Jesus appeared. It was not long after the others had encountered the risen Lord on that day. While Saul was on the road called Damascus. Come on. He had letters of authority to persecute the church. Saul discovered on that road called Damascus that Jesus was still hanging around. The Bible says it was at midday. And a blinding light knocked him off his feet. And he heard a voice from heaven calling him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Saul said, who are you, Lord? He said, I'm Jesus, the one who was once dead, but now alive, and now exalted with all power in my hand. I want you to know it's hard for you to kick and fight against the kingdom of God, because sooner or later I'm going to win. If you don't believe me, look at my hands, look at my feet. You might have the first word, but I'm going to have the last word. So Saul, that same Jesus who spoke to Paul is still speaking today. How do you know, Pastor? Because one day he hung around long enough and I saw him for myself. And I'm glad about it. I know who he is. I'm glad I gave the preacher my hand. And I gave God my heart. And my life has been changed forever. Aren't you glad? You see the Lord. Have you seen him? How do you know you see him? I don't know about you, but I came from a tradition of people who used to say, I looked at my hands, and my hands looked new. I looked at my feet, and they did too. I want you to know he's still hanging around. He walks with me. He talks with me. Every now mama and my daddy.
Yeah.
He hung around
Yes, sir.
to lift up my bow down here.
Yeah.
Thank
Right,
you.
sir. Yes, sir.
The doors of church are now open. Already saved, you're free. Today is a mighty good day. Join this church and get right with the Lord. Are you here this morning? Church, amen. Praise to God for this day. Sunday after resurrection, time in which Jesus hung around long enough to make things right in the lives of those who had failed to believe in Him and in the power of His resurrection. We all stand together